Hey everyone, it is Ryan Seacrest here. Ready to heat up your summer vacation? Get ready, things are about to get sizzling at Chumba Casino. Your summer getting a whole lot hotter with a special daily login bonus waiting just for you. So sign up now for Reels of Fun and Reels of Prizes right here at Chumba Casino with yours truly. Join me at ChumbaCasino.com and dive into a summer of social casino fun.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following is a paid program by Karl Sterling. The content of the show is that of Karl Sterling and does not represent the views of this station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information hereafter is for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you smaller.
Your Health Matters with Karl Sterling on News Radio 570 WSYR on 106.9 FM and live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
I take a couple uppers, I down a couple downers, but nothing compares to these blue and yellow purple pills.
Bring you the latest in health and wellness so you can get to the other things that matter. Here is your host, Karl Sterling.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in central New York. I'm loving this weather. And I'm here at the WSYR NewsRadio 570 WSYR studios with my co-host, the amazing Elizabeth Brusa. How's it going today?
Well, how's it going with you?
Really good. Man, you know, this weather is just perfect. I love this.
Gorgeous.
You know, not too humid, not too hot, blue skies, a lot of green out there. And yesterday I went to the Syracuse Nationals car show.
Yeah.
All I'll say about that is I was in my glory.
I know.
Because I love cars. I'm a car junkie.
Yes, you are.
I want to buy most of them. What
So
would
do
I
I.
do? I would just drive one every now and then. But, yeah, they're just beautiful pieces of history. So just a few announcements before we get right into today's show, because we've got some really important and relevant information to talk about with a very special guest. Our Nashville show starts on August 3rd on WLAC, which I'm so excited about. That is a Saturday. It's going to run every Saturday morning, early mornings. And our new affiliate program, if you happen to be streaming or you listen after the fact and you're near Lebanon, also looks like it's spelled Lebanon because it is, but it's called Lebanon, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville. We'll have our first affiliate neuromotor training location there starting first week of September. So looking forward to that. This week, until and including Friday, the 26th, you can get your VO2 max testing and resting metabolic testing at my clinic using the world-renowned Pinoy measuring device. It's the highest end equipment. You're going to get data that you cannot get any other way through blood, through urine, through anything, through breath. We can determine your current state of health, and it's also the greatest predictor of longevity. This gives us data and metrics that helps us to intervene with let's say, an exercise and nutrition intervention to get you from where you are, exactly where you are now, to where you want to be in your goals for health and, let's say, cardiovascular, all kinds of health, plus longevity. The schedule is filling fast. I have several tests lined up this week. It's $250, covers everything, including a 90-day free meal plan designed by Pinoy based on your eating preferences and your data, and a one-on-one consult with our assigned metabolic genius expert at Pinoy. Those are usually $125 a piece, but you get them for $250. When I return from Nashville on the 29th of this month, the price goes up to $350. So this is the week to get it for $250. All right, book of the week is called Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means. I have to tell you, I love this book. It's a fantastic book. Just get it and read it. Casey, Kasey, Means, Means. Casey Means, Good Energy. One of my favorite books I've read ever. There's a gentleman who called me the other day, left a message wondering about the Parkinson's book written by Dr. Ray Dorsey from University of Rochester. Sir, the name of that book is Ending Parkinson's. It's a great read. It talks about looking at Parkinson's from a preventative aspect. And that's what Dr. Dorsey's all about. Okay, so Ending Parkinson's. Great book. Podcast of the week. I don't really have one, so I'm just referring over to Andrew Huberman because I've been listening to him a lot this week, and Andrew's just amazing. He articulates relevant longevity information, quality of life information in a way that's easy to understand for me, which means that it's probably easy for everybody else because I'm not really that smart. My books, Parkinson's Regeneration Training, Parkinson's Empowerment Training, and Steps to Longevity are all available on Amazon for the lowest price possible. I make literally under 5 cents profit per book. So this is the month if you want to get them, and they're all available on audio, on Audible, all right, and Kindle. So the lowest prices you can possibly get on Amazon. Go to karlsterling.com, that's Karl with a K, and go to the books tab, and just the link through to Amazon there. Amazon's my publisher, so that's where you have to get them. All right, we also want to mention just a couple more things before we get with our guest. We here at Neuromotor Training have a program that is starting to become popular. It's the Power Plate program, $139 a month per person. You come in anytime that we're open. You use any of our equipment, excluding the biodensity. That's the Bone Density Builder program, which that's a different program. But you can use anything else, right? And you use the power plates, and we will show you how to optimize use of power plates to help with your metabolic health, your bone density, your circulation, diminish neuropathy, and improve bone density, joint stability, spinal stability, lymphatic flow, and much, much more, including reducing pain. Also, go to karlsterling.com, Karl with a K. Sign up for our daily text messages. I didn't send one out today. I slacked, folks, but I send one out at 8 a.m. every day. They're programmed. They're set up in advance, usually with short videos, usually, of important information, things that I feel are going to help you to live a longer, better life. All right? You can also sign up for an email list, too, to keep updated on a lot of things. All right. Let's get right into our show with my special guest. We're going to talk about this standard American diet, otherwise known as the SAD, S-A-D, and I say SAD diet. Stephen Abbey is an entrepreneurial force, a seasoned investor, and he's also the visionary behind SOS Nutrients. This company was established in October of 2022. And SOS Nutrients is based in Santa Barbara, California, a smoothie supplement company. And it is revolutionizing the industry. We had him on a few months ago, and we were talking about how, unlike almost all of the products out there, SOS and Steve sets the SOS products apart by utilizing whole foods to deliver comprehensive micronutrient nutrition, entirely devoid of synthetic ingredients. And even some of the most popular brands out there have synthetics, all right? And it doesn't mean they're bad, but this is better. And I've been taking it for, I think I'm going on 7 months now. New bag is on the way. I love the stuff. I have it every single day. Steve Abbey is also a health coach. We're going to talk about more of that. So let's get right into it. Welcome, Steve Abbey. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Karl. Always great to see you and chat with you.
Well, you too. I should have said thanks for joining us today. Elizabeth's here too. Hey.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
So, Steve, I just want to turn it over to you. We'll have about 4.5 minutes here before we go to break, but then we're going to dive in the next 3 quarters, 3 segments to talk about this standard American diet and a lot of other things that go along with it. Could you just start enlightening us about the standard American diet? What is it, and how is it affecting us?
Well, the standard American diet is, I think most people know it's not healthy, but I don't think they're quite aware of just how unhealthy it actually is. And if you look at our healthcare, and some would call it disease care, we're the number one spend in the world. And yet, depending on which study and what time period you're looking at, we're somewhere around the 33rd in terms of in terms of health as a nation, in terms of longevity and all of these other things. So we're really not getting, by just relying on the medical side of things, getting to be at peak health. We're really struggling. So let me give you some ideas on why that might be the case. So there are some recommended amounts of foods as put out by the FDA. And there was a study done to see what percentage of people are actually meeting them. So it's like there's a green leafy vegetables was one of the components, right? There's a recommended amount, and it's not very much. It's like, 0.4 of a cup. So less than half a cup a day. And only 4% of people met that. So 96% of people did not meet that. So if you look at orange vegetables, because orange vegetables have very specific nutrients, such as beta carotene. And so there's a recommended amount of that. Only 2% met that. Legumes, which beans and legumes have all of these benefits, only 3% met that. I mean, total fruits, 20% met that. So in other words, 80% were deficient in fruits. And there was a huge study that was looked at all cultures, and they said, what was the food that would have the most impact on health in the world? And it was people eating more fruits. So it's just, and then you go into nuts and seeds, only 13% eat that. So we're really not eating these really healthy foods while concentrating on, in many cases, on areas that are not as healthy. I'll give you another study that was breaking down the American diet by components.
Hold on 1 second. Only because in 1 minute we have to go to a break already. Then we'll really dig in. Do you mind holding that till we come back?
Sure, absolutely.
So let's improvise for a minute, because I was reading, it was a reputable source, I just can't remember where, what you were saying about we're like around 33rd in terms of longevity in the world, countries. Okay. We have the most gym memberships of any country in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Gym memberships are at like an all-time high, and health is at an all-time low. Obesity, epidemic, diabetes, and everything. Folks, we need to take our first break. When we come back, we will talk and dig in real deep with my guest, Steve Abbey, who is the founder of SOS Nutrients, and we'll talk about where to get it and all that. When we come back, you're listening to Your Health Matters here on News Radio 570 WSYR. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're back. Steve, first of all, we're talking with my friend Steve Abbey, the founder of SOS Nutrients. Go to sosnutrients.com, folks. Check things out. We'll give you more information on ordering soon. Steve, let's talk about that study.
So, there is a breakdown that was looking at what are the components of the American diet made of. And they broke it down by refined fats and refined sugars, which ended up being 42% of the calories. So that's, again, refined sugars, like what you would get in a Coke or anything that's refined, high fructose corn syrup or regular table sugar, basically any type of sugar, honey, all of that would be considered refined sugars. And then you have refined oils, which would be like table oils, cooking oils, things like that. And so that was 42% of the American diet. 20% were refined grains, like white flour and anything, croissants, baguettes, things like that, even though that's more French. And then 26% were meat, dairy, eggs, and fish. And then 12% were whole plant foods. So 12% of the American diet was whole plant food. And that is something that's called the phytochemical index. Now, does that really matter? Does that percentage really matter? So I'm just going to give you a real quick idea of just how drastic that can be. So there was a study done out of the University of Tehran Medical Sciences University, established in 1851, the most prestigious university in that part of the world, not of the world, but in that part of the world. And they looked at they did a bunch of studies on various diseases, looking at the phytochemical index. Again, all that's looking at is what percentage of the diet are from whole plant foods. And so obesity in the top quartile, or the top 25% compared to the lowest 25%, was a 66% reduction. Pre-diabetes was 91% reduction. So we have an obesity and a diabetes epidemic in this country. And that study, if we should be duplicating, because these are not huge studies, but we should be duplicating, because these are drastic. Metabolic syndrome, which is just a whole bunch of things that lead towards other things like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat, low HDL, high triglyceride. But that was reduced by 59%. Benign breast disease was by 70%. And even breast cancer, I almost don't even want to say this because it was so drastic, but it was 92% reduction. And it was a stairwise approach down. Hypertension, everything they tested was lower. So it's something to really consider when making healthy dietary choices, like what percent are whole plant foods. And I'm just going to say, just in case somebody's not familiar with what a whole plant food is, it would be, of course, any fruits, any vegetables, nuts and seeds, beans and legumes, and whole grains. Whole grains like quinoa or brown rice or things like that. So these are what are whole plant foods. So I just wanted to show you how drastic that can make a difference in our health.
Absolutely mind-boggling, really, in a way. I mean, it shouldn't be mind-boggling, but when you think about what the numbers you said, though, those are mind-boggling to me. Oh, Elizabeth, you had, on the break, you mentioned something.
We've had a couple people, couple just come back from Europe, Germany, right? Yeah, Salzburg, Austria, Germany.
Maybe a couple other countries. They were there like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, and they were talking about how different the food tastes over there because it's so fresh. It's like farm to table type of food, and they were just, when they came back, they weren't even looking forward to eating here because it's just not the same taste. And I've heard that from other people who have traveled. You've talked about it.
I can speak to that firsthand many times. Yeah,
it's very interesting to me that our food over here in the United States, because of all the chemicals or the hormones added to it, tastes so differently, and how it changes our diet in that aspect also.
Yeah, well, they don't allow a lot of the foods that we produce here in the United States into Europe. But it's not just that. So I used to work with Turkey all the time. So I was flying over there and staying over there, and I did that for 15 years. And one of the things I noticed is just how different they ate, but also the raw things. Like when they have breakfast, they would have all of these different just cut up things, just very simple foods, right? One of them was just cut up tomatoes. And I remember every time I went there, I would eat so many tomatoes because they didn't taste like American tomatoes. I'd never had one that tasted like, it was delicious. And it was just so, and it was every time I went there. So I noticed that with so many of the foods that they had over there, they were so different in taste. But I'm telling you, it's not just taste, it's nutrient quality.
Yeah.
So Steve, were the tomatoes red?
Yeah, they were bright red. They were bright red, which means that they have tons of lycopene, right? So, and lycopene is so associated with so many good positive outcomes. So, yeah, they had an amazing, I mean, and you look at what we're doing to our foods and why we're doing it. And there's so much vested interest, unfortunately. So it makes it a very hard to navigate what to do and what sources. And the more somebody is willing to get to know their food sources, like we're lucky here in Santa Barbara, we have a really good farmers market. So you get to actually know some of the people that are producing your food, and you get to see it. And if you're really working with somebody that's close, you can kind of go and see it, and it's actually enjoyable to go and see what they're producing.
Well, I started back to school in 2012 at Syracuse University for nutrition. I'll never forget, in the first semester, one of the classes, it was one of the better classes, I would say. I don't want to diss my own city's university, but it wasn't that great of a nutrition program, though. Sorry, Syracuse. But anyways, I did learn quite a lot. Actually, learned a lot. But one of the things I learned is very interesting. Speaking of tomatoes, is the average tomato at that point traveled 1,500 miles to get from farm to plate. Was probably grown in nutrient deficient soil, had chemicals and all kinds of stuff sprayed, and they didn't really taste like a tomato. They didn't look too red. They weren't like an heirloom or anything. They were pinkish, whitish on the inside, and we've all been out and probably had a tomato in our dinner or salad that just doesn't taste like a tomato. And that's just the way it is. I mean, sadly, that's the way it is for a lot of different foods. And at a cellular level, though, what I wanted to dig into is, what you've put together here with SOS Nutrients, I love, because we had you on before and we talked about no synthetic ingredients. We're getting a huge load up of all kinds of vitamins, and they're delivered at the cellular level. They're doing so much good for us. And at the same time, the things that we eat that may not be very nutrient dense, they're not doing things at a cellular level. In fact, some things are doing horrible things at a cellular level. So I was wondering if you could speak to your thoughts, and obviously talk about SOS. That's why you're here. I want people to know about what you have to offer, but at a cellular level, like what's happening with some of the foods we're eating, putting in our body that's messing us up, and our metabolic health and our cellular health, and what can we do about it?
Well, it's very hard to get adequate amounts of nutrition on a standard American diet. It's very difficult. Even if we're eating healthy and really trying, it's not necessarily easy to get everything. But at the same time, you don't want to be having these ginormous amounts of these nutrients as well. And so often when you see supplements on the market, they have giant amounts of B1 of 400% of the daily value, all of these things. And you're just going, why is this so high? I mean, and it's also synthetic, right? So when you're talking about B1, thiamine hydrochloride is a coal tar derivative, right? And it's made with ammonia and formaldehyde. These are not healthy things to put in your body. I mean, but if you look at it, is not easy to get the recommended amount of nutrition. I'll give you a couple of examples, like vitamin C. So the average American, 43% don't reach or are not reaching the recommended amount. But the recommended amount for men is 90 milligrams. For women, it's 75 milligrams. And 43% don't meet it. But you really need to look at what is the blood level, because we are going to get to somewhere between 70 micromoles per liter to 80 micromoles. And then your body basically stabilizes it. But at 90 or 75 milligrams, you're not going to reach that. If you look at an indigenous culture, such as the Kung Bushmen, or there are multiple tribes that have been studied, they're having somewhere around 400 to 600 milligrams a day. I mean, they're being flooded throughout the day because most of their diet are whole plant foods. And so they have tons of vitamin C in them. Another thing would be fiber, which is so critically important. And again, Americans, only 3% of Americans reach the recommended amount of fiber. So, and then the Kung Bushmen have over double what our recommended amount is. So if you look at just how different a modern day diet is. So we have all of this medical interventions that are fantastic, especially if needed. But if we eat better, we won't need so many medical interventions by a long shot. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, on another note, I mean, we know that there's all constipation, in my opinion, only because we deal with it all the time. We see it all the time. This is almost probably an epidemic. Really, we should be declaring war on a lot of different things health-wise. For example, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, metabolic dysfunction, constipation. There's so much we can do to get things moving, like maybe eat fiber, maybe exercise. I mean, movement helps to move stuff and get it out of you. And we should be sweating. Some people don't like to sweat. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you're just going to have to deal with it. I don't know. I don't know what to say sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you going to do? You know, if you were born 1,000 years ago, you'd have to be sweating. You would have no choice. You have to sweat, but you don't have to now because you can go to DoorDash on your phone. You go to Uber Eats or whatever, or order Amazon, right? I love Amazon, but I mean, we're going to keep moving.
Yeah. We even have remotes to our television that we don't even have to get off the couch anymore to turn the station.
In the new one, I have lights up, so I don't have to turn on a light to look at it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, my God. I'm so lazy, right? But we got about a minute before break. Let's just improv. What can we say in 1 minute, Steve?
Well, what can we say in 1 minute? So I'll give you one little quick study. And because nutrition is a component of health, but it is a huge component, right? So there was a study done that was looking at 3 components: people that were currently not smoking compared to current smokers, people that were physically active, and that was just measured by 150 minutes per week, right, of moderate. So that's just where you can talk, but you can't sing, right? And then that were in the top 40% of the healthy eating index. They had an 82% reduction in the death rate for those people compared to the people that didn't do that. So I know that was a quick soundbite, but that's like when I work with people, I work with all of those things.
Okay, cool. We're going to head out for a break. News Radio 570 here, now on 106.9 FM. Your Health Matters with Karl Sterling. We'll be back. Thank you. We're back. This is interesting, isn't it?
Very.
So, you know, in my having been extremely overweight 16 years ago or so, whenever it was, and, you know, drinking too much and not eating well and not exercising, and especially after 5 years ago, even though I lost a lot of weight and I was fit, I was pretty lean and seemingly healthy. I had this DVT. It was enormous, right? So I won't say the whole story. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I've managed it. It's done. The surgery was successful. Blah 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 blah. I'm always seeking to do better in my business and my ability to help people and inform and educate people, and also in my own intake of nutrients. So through a mutual friend, I met Steve Abbey, and through our friend Eric Durack. And first of all, Eric only knows great people and great products. So thankfully, Eric, if you hear this, thanks for introducing us. But I've been taking this in my smoothie, this SOS Nutrients, and, you know, because of the way it's designed, with the way it's put together, I mean, I've tried other things. I mean, yeah, I never tried Athletic Greens, but I know it's really big out there. But a lot of their stuff is synthetic. It's just the way it is, and it doesn't do the same thing to your body. I tried Shakeology years ago. There's so much refined stuff in it, you know. I don't want to diss anyone or make anyone upset, you know. But this is different. So, Steve, let's talk more about these phytonutrients and just anything you want to tell us, because I want people to know about SOS, what you've put together, how it works, and how it can help you.
Well, so I went into this. This was a passion project. I had actually retired, but in any event, I got brought back into this because I helped some people at the end of their lives, basically being on their support team, and they were dying of preventable diseases, in my opinion. And the last one really devastated me. So I did a deep dive, and I didn't do this as a typical product. I did this as a perfectionistic product, which is dangerous whenever you're talking about business sort of stuff, because I'm spending, when I get, let's say the zinc that I have in, instead of zinc oxide or zinc gluconate, I have a guava leaf extract that is specially grown in the specific area that has high zinc, and they, just like Brazil nuts concentrate selenium, guava leaf is high in zinc if there's zinc in the soil. So you have to have zinc in the soil in any event. So then I paid 25 times more for the vitamin C, which is a blend of freeze-dried organic berries. And, instead of ascorbic acid or calcium ascorbate or liposomal vitamin C, all of that is just ascorbic acid with either a fat coating or bound to an amino acid for better absorption. But they don't work the same. The studies show that they don't work the same. That's why when you look at these multivitamin studies, I have one in a presentation I do, 326,000 people years of taking supplementation, zero benefit. Wow. That's because you're talking about, well, it's 85,000 people for 4-point-something years. So there was a zero benefit. If they were just eating an apple, they would have had a benefit. I'm telling you, there would have been a statistically significant benefit. Now, when I teased through the information on it, it looked like it did have a tiny bit of benefit, but none of it reached statistical significance, whether it was cardiovascular, metabolically, or all-cause mortality. None of it had a benefit, at least statistically. But when you look at things like the magnesium dietarily, you have incredible benefit. If you look at vitamin C, if you look at mushrooms, which people don't even consider, right? Most people are not even thinking about mushrooms. Now it's getting much more common for people to think about. But there are all these pathways that your body just uses for transporting mushroom nutrition. Do you need it? Or will you be okay without it? Yes. Does it lower the risk of cancer? Yes. Does it lower the risk of all-cause mortality? Yes. These are things that if you have them in your diet. So when I designed SOS Nutrients, it can be just as a regular greens powder, and you can do it any way you want. But the way that I'm hoping people will use it is mix it into a really healthy smoothie. Because as I talked about the phytochemical index, you're talking about massive amounts of nutrition that you're going to actually have real effects. It's more expensive. It's more work. But if you really want to change somebody's nutritional direction or health journey, that is the way to at least start. And there are many other things. So when I work with people, I'm working with them on all things. Their exercise, make sure that they're not smoking. And then there's all of these other lifestyle things. But the main component that really people need to work on in this country is their nutrition.
Well, I'll second that one.
Me too. I'll third it.
Yeah. I think personally it was, other than drinking, which I don't do and gave up a long time ago, I think that changing nutrition is the hardest discipline I've ever had to work on changing, because we get comfortable with certain things. We crave certain things. And actually, with food science and technology the way it is, they're designed to make us crave those things. I mean, that's well documented out there, that some of the things in there go in and purposely short circuit your leptin hormones. So then you eat the Dorito or the bag of Doritos, you don't feel full because leptin shut off. And that's the one that tells your brain your stomach is full. But if you're not getting the message, you don't think you're full, you don't feel full, you'll eat more. Well, I've been there a lot of times. There's thousands and thousands of foods with chemicals to short circuit and mess us up. So then we're craving more. And plus, one of the things, when we're not getting the nutrients we need, our body will tell us we need those nutrients by saying, hey, you're hungry. So you might go eat more of the stuff that doesn't give you the nutrients, and then you get hungry again and again and again. If we could only get those nutrients into us, which we can, we wouldn't be so hungry all the time. This could take care of a few problems.
Yeah, well, you're opening up a whole can of things. Like when you talk about that, oh, wow. So you're talking about hyperpalatable foods, and then there have been studies done on when people are given a hyperpalatable food compared to one that's not, and how much they eat. So that's immediate. But then there are all these other things. So I was talking earlier about fiber and how much like the Kung Bushmen and indigenous tribes around the world eat, right, compared to what Americans eat. But if you eat fiber in your gut, in the intestines of your gut, well, we'll talk about this in a little bit.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. We're on Teams, folks, so I can see him and he can see us. So I gave him the break sign, but I didn't want to interrupt you mid-depth sentence or anything. But you are listening to our guest, Steve Abbey, the founder of SOS Nutrients. I'm here with Elizabeth Brusa. We are the hosts of Your Health Matters here on News Radio 570 WSYR. We'll be back after this break. Okie dokie, we're back. We're talking with Steve Abbey, founder of SOS Nutrients. Really interesting stuff, man. You know, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, don't get me going. I could too.
Seriously. I mean, we will have to have you back because there's so much to talk about. And, you know, our show, which I never did even mention earlier, this is a longevity health span focused show. And so is the work we do at our clinic that Elizabeth and I do over at Neuromotor Training. And we're, you know, slowly starting to expand what we do and where we do it. So increasing our health span within our lifespan is one of our motives here. Nutrition is a vital component of this. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve, because I just want you to tell us more, share more with us.
Okay. One of the things I was just saying was when somebody eats a hyper palatable food, it triggers them to eat more. Also, almost all of those foods have very low fiber. So as they're eating it, they're not getting any fiber. And the human body has this thing where it has this feedback mechanism. There are multiple, but one of them in particular is the fiber that you consumed yesterday is starting to be broken down by your good gut bacteria or your intestinal bacteria, and it creates something called butyrate, which lowers ghrelin, which lowers your hunger. So the foods that you eat today will lower your amount of hunger tomorrow. So if you're trying to lose weight, doing that is one of the many things you can do to impact how much you're eating the next day. And so with, again, the American diet, only 3% reach the RDA of fiber. So this is hitting, so they're constantly essentially getting the hormone ghrelin into their system where they are hungry. And so they're consistently overeating. Whereas if you look at traditional tribes, they're eating anywhere from, double, sometimes even triple the RDA of fiber. And that is, by the way, you don't want to just go out and start eating triple the fiber or you will have a stomach ache. Your body actually needs to get used to it and build up to it. That's why when somebody uses my product, I tell them start with only a half a serving and then slowly move up to a full serving because it's a lot of fiber. It's also a lot of concentrated nutrition. But that's a huge aspect of things. And one of the reasons why I made my product designed originally as a smoothie product is because with a smoothie, you can get all these various things all in one that so many people, like nuts and seeds have been been shown to lower drastically the risk of having a cardiac event, right? So if people are worried about that's our number one killer. If they're worried about having a cardiac event or if they've been diagnosed with heart disease, having nuts and seeds consistently is drastically important, in my opinion, based on all these studies that have been done on it. In fact, one of them came out showing that it was a 50% reduction for omnivores, and they were so shocked by the results, they did them with vegetarians to see if it would continue, and it had even a bigger effect for vegetarians. So that's just one simple thing that if you make it into a smoothie, you can add, but you can add the greens that I said that nobody is getting. You can add berries, which are the most healthy fruit, and it's already in my smoothie, but my smoothie comes in then and covers like the turmeric that's not in there, the mushrooms, all the nutrients that are specifically not in an American diet.
Right. It's amazing. This whole thing about, it's really interesting to me how, a few things. I mean, I talk about this periodically. For example, I'm 63. So when I was a kid and teenager, going through school, we didn't have too many people who were that overweight or obese. diabetes, type 2 diabetes, was not really, it wasn't normal. I mean, these days it's kind of normal, sadly. And I don't say this anyone judging you. I'm not judging. I mean, I was obese too, but later in my 40s. But the thing is it's not illegal to be a diabetic or to be overweight or obese, but geez, it shouldn't be normal. And I was at this car show yesterday, and I'm going to sound like a horrible person, but I can't help myself because I really do care. And I look at the burden this is having, not only on the person who's probably experiencing a lot of health problems. There's so many people who look sick there yesterday and all over the place, but maybe their loved ones, the health system, the insurance, everything. So the ripple effect is huge. But geez, even 50 years ago, it wasn't like this. Things were not like this. Food changed. Food changed in the 70s and especially in the 80s. And a lot of us have lost sight of this. We lost track of it. And, who's here to really teach us about it? Well, that's why we're here, is to bring this education and realize that there are choices that you can make. I made choices. I'm not special. I'm not special because I lost a lot of weight. I'm just wanted to live longer. I didn't want to die and feel crappy and be a burden in the future to others. But had I not changed, I don't know where I'd be right now. Maybe I wouldn't be here. We don't know. But what I do know is that I feel better than ever now. But this is a conscious decision every day. I'm still fighting my urges for alcohol is something I don't crave anymore ever. But things like potato chips, yeah, I love them. I don't care how bad they are for me. I love them, but I'm not eating them very often. And so I have to fight this and make a decision and think of the future every time. And then I'm not just talking this up because you're my guest. I'm just telling you that when I eat well and when I take my SOS nutrient, my cravings diminish greatly. And I think it's because my body's being fed what it needs, so it's not screaming, eat, eat, eat more, Karl. There's my spiel.
Well, the thing is you mentioned so many people. There's so many factors. We could have a whole conversation just about that, because obesity is one of the things that's really impacting this culture. And I put together a whole program based on a whole bunch of other people's programs, refined down because it's so important. But just to give you some numbers. So in 1890, there was a study done on obesity in the United States, and 1.07%, basically 1% of the United States population was obese or of adult population.
And I'm sorry, you said in 1890.
1890.
Okay.
So as of today, according to the CDC, it's 41.9%, and they're expecting it to be 50% by 2030. So just to give you an idea, it's going in the wrong direction. And diabetes this is a presentation that I have. In 1958, it was 0.9%, and today it's 13.9%. So, and pre-diabetes is a third of adult population. So we have this massive amount of blood sugar regulation issues and obesity issues. And there's so many things that people can do. It is amazing to work with people that are willing to make some changes and see the drastic results, especially if they have a 24-hour glucose monitor. You can see it in real time. And then you can get off the drugs, off the insulin, and really make a shift that drastically impacts your longevity, but also your happiness of what's, if you're insulin dependent, you're truly kind of stuck. Like if anything ever happens and you're not able to get it, you're kind of in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I want to make a statement real quick that I want to talk about where people get SOS Nutrients and learn more about it. My statement is this. We have people who come into our clinic. Some we've been working with them for many, many years because they come to us. They're getting results, losing weight. You know some of the people I'm talking about, you know?
Yes, I do.
And one of the gentlemen who likes to come early on certain days lives with Parkinson's.
Yes.
I think over the past few years that I've known, he's down about 80, maybe 90 pounds. Just in the past few
Yep.
months, he's down 20-something pounds. But he also has a glucose monitor. So my son did this, and he's an MD and a PhD. Yes, I'm totally bragging. And we were talking when he was up to visit last week. I might do a glucose monitor because my son, who's a lean, fit beast, unbelievable, he learns so much. And the people who I know who have these monitors, they learn so much about what happens to their blood sugar when they eat anything. Each thing they eat, they can see. My son was in shock of how much it spiked on certain things that he didn't expect it to spike. He says, oh my gosh. So this is a real tool for education. Let's go into talking about SOS. Where can they get it? And yeah, where can they get it?
The best place to find out information and to buy it is the website, which is sosnutrients.com. So SOS, the word nutrients.com. And I've sent you a link for people. But also, yeah, that's the place where you can get the most information. We also have some social media stuff, but the best place where the concentrated information to get on SOS is on the website.
Okay, great. Now, I have a question. I didn't ask permission to ask this, so I hope I'm not stepping out of bounds. Are you still working on the bone health formula?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I have a bone health formula that I just mix up for people and send it to them. So, but it's clearly like there's so much that can be done. Of course, there needs to be resistance exercise. There are multiple factors, but nutrition is a huge one. And there are specific nutrients for that. SOS has all those nutrients, but when you're dealing with bone health, you need to have a little bit more of specific ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will have you back soon, okay? And Steve, by the way, Steve was supposed to be on last week. We moved it to today because after the Trump shooting, we had thought the president was going to be on because he was supposed to be, and then he never came on. So, Steve, I'm sorry about that, but thank you for today.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Thank you for all the great work you're doing in this arena of helping people to, live better, feed their bodies better. SOSnutrients.com, folks. Go there. Check it out. Or visit my site, karlsterling.com, Karl with a K, and then just go to the sponsors link and you'll see SOS there. Thanks again, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you shortly. You're listening to Your Health Matters News Radio 570 WSYR. Have a great day.
The proceeding was a